Hey, how do you feel about some high rarity cards, or maybe some foreign ones, or maybe be ahead of the game with others by preparing for future set releases with very quick shipping? Check out EJ Gaming and use code British5 on checkout for 5% off on all your orders. Link in the description. Greetings, duelists, and welcome to another video. So, on Legacy of Destruction, we've just received a new card that's going to arrive in that set. For those who don't know, that is the set we're getting on April of 2024. It is from a main booster set, and I feel like, or I believe, that this might be one of the more complicated cards that we've had in the game since Small World. Uh, I really like what this card does. I think it's a card that a lot of people are like going to experiment with. Let's read its effects. So the card in question is called Metaltronios. It is a quick play spell card, and it reads: target one face-up non-token monster your opponent controls. Special summon one monster that has two or more of the same between type, attack, and attribute from your hand, deck, or extra deck, but its effects are negated. And if you do, negate the targeted monster's effect. Then, if those two monsters have the same name, you can banish both face down. Your opponent cannot activate the targeted monster's effects in response to this card's activation. So, essentially, what we have here is a card that pretty much works as blanketing negation for an opponent's monster, but it can also summon you a monster. Take note that you have to actually control a monster uh, or actually have the right monster to summon in order to properly resolve this card's effect. Another note is that it says that the targeted monster cannot respond to this card's activation. However, this card can be responded with other monster effects or other effects in general. So, essentially, what we have here is a really good card that really can fulfill a purpose against mirror matches or against like really common end boards that involve like really problematic monsters. Uh, as you can see here in the screen, these are pretty much all really good examples of that. Another really good example, if I can find it right here, is Cashtira Fenrir. Um, so you can just pretend Cashtira Fenrir is on the opponent's side of the field. That is another really common target for Metaltronios. So at first glance, you're probably thinking, well, if we run the same monster, we can just banish the same monster face down. Like, let's say, for example, you target SP Little Knight, you can just summon your SP Little Knight, and then they'll go both get banished. Same thing with any other of those monsters. And it's really cool because SP Little Knight cannot respond to Metaltronios, therefore it cannot dodge its negation, nor cannot dodge its banish effect. So let's say you don't want to banish your card and you just want to summon a free monster out of Metaltronios. Take note, the monster that you're summoning have their effects negated. However, there are a couple of interesting things you can do with this. Let's take the same SP Little Knight as example. Uh, in the off chance that we don't summon SP Little Knight, we have to summon something that is either Dark 1600 attack and or a warrior. And I think we have a couple of examples. One example that we have is Ariana the Labyrinth Servant. She is a dark monster with 1600 attack. Take note, Ariana is negated, but it's still a free summon that you're getting that matches SP Little Knight. Uh, let's go with more practical examples that are really strong. Another really good example would be Sky Striker Ace Ray and Scareclaw Lightheart. The reason those two are really powerful examples are because not only are you negating the SP Little Knight, but if you're starting like the engine of your deck, let's say for example you're playing Sky Strikers, you can just summon Ray out of your deck, and Ray doesn't really have an effect. They're super relevant outside of like tributing herself. You can just link away Ray for Kagari or for any Sky Striker ace. And same thing with Reinhardt. You can just link away Reinhardt into Lightheart and just start your Scareclaw or Manadium strategy. Just to give you like a few examples. So right, or we already found viable targets for SP Little Knight, and SP Little Knight is pretty much like the most played monster in the game outside of probably Kashtira Fenrir and Baron the Floor. Like this card is going to be everywhere until like it gets power crept or banned, which I don't think is gonna happen anytime soon. So just knowing that you have a cohesive strategy for SP Little Knight, worst case scenario, just banish your own copy. It's already really strong. Let's go with other common examples. Let's say you're playing against the Fire King deck and you're facing like the Swarm Ship Amblo Whale. This is part of the Fire King end board that you're going to be seeing like sometime very soon. So we have to summon something with 2600 attack and is a fire and is a machine or any of those combinations. So let's go with fire machine. Turbulence is a fire machine. So all the rescue ace monsters apply here. Uh, Jet Synchron is a fire machine, so it also applies. Another example would be Sky Striker Ace Kagari. So right off the bat, you're also accessing your Sky Striker engine with Amblo Whale. So right off the bat, Metaltronios is looking like a really good card for Sky Strikers because we have both a target for SP Little Knight and for Amblo Whale. Take note that Ray is a Dark Warrior. So like if you face other dark decks with 1500 monsters or like any other like warrior decks that share a similar light, then you can just do this exact example right here. So let's do the Kashtira Fenrir, right? So that's an Earth Psychic with 2400 attack. So that was a little bit more complex. However, there are viable targets. One viable target would be Scareclaw Kashtira because it is an Earth Psychic. And again, if we're playing Manadium or Scareclaw, this works very fine. Or if you're playing like the Kashtira Mirror Match, this also works just fine. Well, in the case of the Kashtira Mirror, you're probably just gonna banish Fenrir face down. But in the off chance that you're playing something at Manadium, you already have two targets for the price of one Fenrir, and as well as the SP Little Knight. Um, so we saw those examples right there. Let's see if we can find other ones. The same thing for Turbulence applies to Amblo Whale. Let's try Baron the Floor. So Baron the Floor is a wind warrior with 3000 attack. That was a little bit harder. However, there are cool targets that you can like incorporate for this. Take note that once the meta game like becomes a little bit more established upon this card's release, this card would be a lot more easier and creative to be using like later on in like the game. So one really cool example that I thought about was High Speed Roid Kite Drake. So it is a wind with 3000 attack, meaning that it matches with Baron the Floor. It's also a machine with 3000 attack, so it matches with Rescue Ace Turbulence. And We don't care about the field effect because these effects are negated by Metaltronios. However, this does have a graveyard effect, which is to add one Speedroid monster from your deck to your hand. Basically, you can just crash this monster into Baron or the Turbulence, and this essentially gets this effect, meaning that you just grab a free Speedroid monster. Speedroid Terratop has been semi-limited in this next upcoming January Forbidden Limited list, meaning that any deck that can play those is already a deck that can welcome this card if you're playing Metaltronius. And Baron the Floor is a really common monster being summoned right now. It's on a lot of people's end boards alongside SP Little Knight or as much or as often as SP Little Knight. So just having a target for that can just help tutor your engine is also welcome for Metaltronius. We have other cool examples, like for example, if you target SP Little Knight again, you can summon Phoenix Enforcer. Another thing you can summon is Destiny Hero Malicious. So Enforcer does not have its field effect and it cannot return back to the field if it's destroyed. However, this can bring back another Destiny hero. And something to take note about this card is that the fact that this card is both negation and an extender really, really just makes you think outside the box and be very, very creative, like with your strategy. I think this is a very, very fantastic card. I think this card is going to be very complicated. Like, just look at Small World and how complicated that card was when it first got released. I can see the same light for this card. There's a billion other options. Like, the possibilities are almost infinite. Like, for example, 3000 attack dark can be Imseti, or it can get you to Imseti. It can get you to Cosmo Dark Destroyer. The Turbulence can get you to this card as well. Like, there are just way too many possibilities, and it's almost infinite. But I just kind of wanted to show you like what I thought on the spot. I think a lot of people are going to be very creative with this card. I think Legacy of Destruction is looking like a very promising set between Light Sworns, Best Out Dragons, like the new Yugi cards, and like we have a few cool possible cards like this one. We're looking at a set that might be really good for our national season. But that's it from me. I hope you found this informative and to your understanding. Keep practicing and keep dueling.